My name is Sarah Boyd, and I'm the president and founder of Operation Truth-Vaccination Exposure Research. Today, we're conducting a personal patient interview with one of our team members, Megan Kelly. Megan Kelly, thank you for joining us. Can you please tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're a part of Operation Truth?
So I am a 50-some-year-old veteran that has multiple injuries and illnesses, physical MST as well as vaccine injury. Because I was non-deployed during my vaccine issues, every single one of my illnesses and injuries that can be actually connected to Gulf War syndrome, with the exception of one, are all non-service connected. In fact, they basically flat out denied every single one of the injuries, even though other service members in my unit have been able to service connect them. And I actually was sick and injured within like 2 weeks of getting the shot. That's the asthma and allergies is the only one that actually got Gulf War syndrome identified, even though I did not deploy. So I'm one of the very few people that actually did get the marker, even though I was not deployed. And they are now starting to allow, like lung issues. And they basically call this other exposures. They don't want to actually say that it's, that it's actually the anthrax shot, but they'll actually just say, well, you were located at some of the bases that had, like toxic water, or that had fuel in the water, or that had this or that, but they're not willing to actually pinpoint or do that root cause analysis. And I think that in order for us to get better, instead of just having the doctors spitball and try us on crazy med after crazy med, medicine cabinet full that looks like a pharmacy, to find stuff that works for all these different side effects. The root cause analysis is really important, because if it is something that I think it is, it's going to require a drastic medical enhancement that doesn't exist right now, or at least I don't know that it exists, in order to flip the switch and get us out of our illnesses. And the reason why I say that is Dr. Bach from Minnesota was doing some research for the burn pit, and he actually said that for some of us, the anthrax shot absorbed in our intestines the wrong way. I had IBS, so it absorbed that way, and it moved us into chronic inflammation state. Now, what that did was it turned everything in our body that can be inflamed. Allergies and asthma is inflammation. Osteoarthritis is inflammation. You have PTSD type symptoms because you have a brain inflammation right in the back of your skull. I found out today that my colon is actually inflamed too. So everything in your body that can be inflamed does, because it's been this silent poison rotting us from the inside out, for me, for like over 15 years. And it's just now starting to display itself externally with the body signs and the body cue. But part of the problem is that if you can't shut off your body's chronic inflammation state, as long as your body has any inflammation states. So now that I'm asthmatic, now that I am, inflamed, my spleen is inflamed, my appendix is inflamed, my colon is inflamed, all these other things are inflamed. So unless I can get rid of every single one of those, which is not feasible, not functional for a body to be able to do, then I can't be cured. So it's more like a race for which one of the rot is going to kill me first. Is it the lung rot? Is it the gut rot? Is it any of the other rots? So basically, I am a sad sack waiting to die, is how somebody explained it to me. So, and that's my maid, Loretta.
Hi,
But
thank you for helping out, Megan. Us in
yes,
our chronic illness state is we need others to assist in getting us through all these daily activities. So thank you
yeah.
for
Loretta.
helping out
Yeah.
Megan and cleaning her house and assisting where you can. But thank you,
Yeah.
Megan, for sharing that. That's an interesting theory about the gut absorption. I hadn't heard that theory yet. But as you
Well,
stated,
he was
without
he was
research,
silenced, believe it or not. He actually
yeah.
was about ready to publish his findings, and he was removed off of the project right before he was due to remove, due to say that what he had found. And that was years ago. I mean, like
Yeah.
yeah, but I
That's
spent
what they do,
almost
right? Is they
yeah,
suppress and ensure that the public isn't hearing that information.
yeah.
Even though the VA's own public health website proclaims that vaccinations could be a cause of chronic multi-symptom illness, they do as much as they can to suppress the fact-based
Yep.
knowledge that we are sharing.
Yeah, like
So
the
without
VAER,
research,
yeah, the
we are not going
VAERS.
to be able to know that. So it's interesting that they have those different theories to come to, because that's all we can do is just theorize at this point
Well,
without having that research conducted.
and you're not going to be able to find a lot of these different things in there, because I know me personally, I did submit all of my illnesses and injuries from the anthrax shot and from everything into VAERS at least 5 times. And I did a FOIA on myself to get all of my outputs on the VAERS, because when I did a search, I could not find myself anywhere. And come to find out that every single one of my 5 times submitting to VAERS has been removed from the database. So,
Wow,
and
so you're
I
not
work
testing what
I
they
work in
are.
IT. I know how to enter stuff in. So it's definitely, they are suppressing it. They are removing stuff. It, a lot of stuff is getting dropped. So it's sanitized information that we're getting out of there. It's not reality.
So
So
tell us a little bit more about your military service. So why did you join, and which branch did you serve in, and what areas did you serve, and those questions that they asked about your environmental exposure?
Oh, so I was born and bred in Anderson, Indiana. So little small-ish town, 3 high schools, so not that small, but
3 high schools. Wow.
yeah, we had 3 high schools in my Indiana town. So it wasn't like small, but it was
How many
small
were in
enough.
your graduating class?
Like 2,000, I think, probably somewhere around there. So
Wow.
it's not small, but for, like Indiana, it's Indiana.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we think small town, farm town. So just grew up a country girl, tomboy a little bit. So when I was 16, my parents decided that they weren't going to let me go to college where I wanted to go to. I was kind of one of those forced to follow my mother's footsteps. She wanted me to be a nurse, and I was just like, ew, gross, no. And I have since been, trained in military for first aid and medic and all this other happy horse crap. But I didn't want to be but for the military, so I went to the Marine Corps. Well, funny story. I went to the recruiting section, and the Army, all these fat older guys, and I'm like, I'm one to talk now, but I was 105 pounds when I was 16 and in perfect shape, competition swimmer, the whole bit. So just these old fat guys. And for a teenage girl, it was just kind of like, eh. But they were like, oh, look, you get a ribbon just for waking up, and you get a ribbon for, like just going to breakfast at boot camp, and you get a ribbon for that. And I'm like, wow. Yeah, okay. It's just like, yeah, if I wanted a life, I would totally do this. So I go into the Navy, and there's this recruiting assistant, total creep factor is off the charts. And he was just like, hey, maybe we'll be stationed on a ship together, and he's chasing me around. And I'm just like, oh, hell to the no. Not only am I going to be claustrophobic because you smell like sweat and you're gross, but like they're literally like chasing because they were low on quotas for females. So I'm like, oh, hell to the no on that one. If I wanted to be harassed, I'd stay here. But so I go into the Air Force, kind of chubby, had his feet up on the desk. He was the only person that was in there. It was just like a one shot. I walk in the door, don't even get the door shut. He looks up from his coffee and he's like, I have my quotas of females for this month. Come back next month. I literally just turned around and walked right back out. The door was still open and everything. I was just like, okay, you know, whatever, a-hole. And then I go into the Marines and Gunnery Sergeant Joseph Latore. And Joseph Latore literally was Mr. Indiana the year prior to me going in. So he was just buff, nice, awesome looking in his uniform and just amazing figure. And he treated me totally respectfully, totally nice. His girlfriend was there. And I actually helped with his kids, babysat his kids and stuff like that. I mean, just a great, great guy. A lot of the people say, you know, the recruiters kind of lie to you. He did not pull any punches. He pretty much told me exactly what I was walking into. We started a Young Marines and I was Sergeant Major of the Young Marines. So I was pretty gung-ho. Even got out of school so I could work at his recruiting, doing all sorts of administrative stuff at his recruiting station, and just had a lot of fun. A lot of great people, met a lot of different gung-ho people, a lot of not so good people, because, you know, there are their share of crazies that like to go in there. But it was just a really good experience, and just it appealed to my tomboy, appealed to my sense of self, my honor, my ethics, you know, honesty, integrity. Marines had like the stepping stones of leadership, which are, you know, teamwork and honesty and ethics and ethos, you know, just everything that was honor-based, and pride in self, pride in country, pride in family, pride in everything. And you're one of many, you're part of a family. And we had such a very small family that I love the concept of family. And literally to this day, if I run into anybody that I served with, it is almost like the BFF. We've never part, you know, now in the digital age, we do Facebook or phone number or text or whatever. And I literally still get calls and Facebooks from people that I've served with that are like brother sisters, and they call us that like all the time. You know, you are brother or sister for your, you know, they're your family. And, you know, but you know, I've had some good duty stations and I've had some not so good duty stations. I've never gone overseas, so that part sucked. But I've been around many, many different places around the US for the Marines. And then when my daughter was born, she was born with special needs, and the Marines kept moving me around all over the place. And so I ended up moving over, transitioning to Army Guard, so that way I could stay, you know, Virginia Army National Guard. I would stay in Virginia. Yeah, that was before the Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And the reason why National Guard, little known fact, a lot of people actually do not know this, but the Guard is actually a militia. It's not part of the congressional, like the Congress and the president does not control the National Guard, the governors do. And so the very first US citizen that was shooting up all of the soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, he was like, oh, don't shoot, I'm an American. That's why they actually started deploying National Guard. And that's why they deploy National Guard to the airports, because little known fact, National Guard can actually shoot US citizens. So if that person in Iraq or Iran says, don't shoot on him, I'm an American, but he was shooting at us, bang, you know, we get to kill him. We don't care. So
I didn't know that rule.
Yeah. So they're militia, and that's exactly the whole thing. And the government, we're not exempt or we're not part of that whole Geneva. We're not part of that whole military quad where you answer to the president on that. We are militia. And, that's the way that it was intended and designed. We protect the US citizens. So when we go into airports and there's some situation with a gun or a bomb or something like that, we can shoot them and kill them in certain circumstances. I mean, we're not fallible, and we do get in trouble if we, indiscriminately become a Death Star and just shoot around. But that is why they started getting deployed. So they started up tempoing and doing a lot of other activities. I was in OCS at the time, and unfortunately for me, I had a tax sergeant who was divorcing. He was divorcing from a very controlling wife, so he became a massive woman hater. That was my physical injury. He basically destroyed my knees. He did some punishment exercises and did some other things that pretty much removed him from ever being an instructor in the state of Virginia again because of his abuse. But he basically damaged my knees and my ankles so bad that I literally was starting to be med boarded out of the military because he destroyed my knees so bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad leadership, but that hits the tip. Wow, that is.
So Marines never hurt me. Army Guard hurt me. They broke me. They actually, he broke my body before he broke me, but he was actually trying to break me because it drove him absolutely insane. Because when you're in OCS, you're like, yes, sir, no, sir, but you can't really yes, please, or no. If you use please and thank you, it apparently drove him bat crap crazy. And my saying please and thank you is what triggered him to destroy my knee. So
that must have been what his ex-wife said.
I honestly please and thank you to whoever she was cheating on. I don't know, but yeah, he took it out on me. So unfortunately, he destroyed it, and it just degrade. It's a degenerative disease, so my knees will never get better. They have been harassing me for years to get total knee replacements, but the problem is when you the knee replacement, it's a tool, just like with any other. Once it's metal, it has hinges. The shelf life of a knee replacement generally, unless you are severely lucky, is 10 years. So every 10 years, you will actually have to replace the components in there. But the problem with, females, the osteoarthritis and the other brittle bone issues that happen with a lot of females is that they have to hook to bone. So they cut off your kneecap and your femur and bring you up a little bit and then hook the hinge to the kneecap up in the bone. Well, after about 10 years, that bone is now split and frayed and, spider webbed because of that hinge. Excuse me. So they have to cut higher on the bone. So if you're thinking about an arm, so just say if I was replacing this, they put the hinge way about here. Well, after about 10 years, they're going to have to cut all the way back up to here. And then here's where my hinge becomes. So every 10 years, they cut more and more off. I'm going to be amputated before I'm 80. So
horrible.
Yeah. So, and the surgery itself is oh my God, horrible. With a 2-year-old in the house that's autistic, he runs up, he slams on, he falls down. So I have to lunge and do a lot of stuff with my knee, and I'm injuring my knee all the time. Plus he hits. He's really great at hitting. So I would not survive having a surgery anywhere around him, except for one where has a quick turnaround time for healing, because he's too destructive. He's too much. The 8-year-old, not so much, but he would forget and hit me there too. he rolls over on me and lays on my stomach and does all sorts of other stuff too. But
and then life happens, running into things, slipping.
Yeah.
It sounds like you could be more stable without the surgery. Because of all of those factors that you just stated that could potentially even harm your knee as it's healing and then past those stages as well.
Well,
What other type of
the pain is a little bit too much, because like you can't carry heavy things. You can't, like, even carrying my 2-year-old, because he's a chunky boy, is a little bit much for some people and stuff like that. But you have no choice but to do. So they do like gel injections, and I get every 3 months I have to have about 6 shots in my knee. So, and then I also have migraines from them using me as a football in Marines, and like the contusions and stuff. So I get a lot of headaches, and so they have to do Botox. So that's 21 shots in the head and neck every 3 months too.
Wow. So you do get Botox. Are you not concerned with the potential risk factors that those come with?
I'm one of the weird ones that keep having like all these allergic reactions to like everything, but for whatever reason, I have not had any reaction to that one. So, and because of where they place it, I mean, like literally it's kind of like here and here and like inside the skull and inside the skull. The only thing that I'm noticing, and I kind of need to kind of backtrack and go after that chronic inflammation state. One of the side effects of the chronic inflammation state that all of us have had is like these cysts, these random cysts that show up everywhere. So I've had cysts in my uterus. I have a adrenal gland cyst right now where they're going to have to cut into my back to get to whenever it grows too big. But the other thing that is either the Botox or something else is I've got these cysts that are growing on my skull. And we have no clue what they are or whatever. I got to go and schedule an appointment to have them biopsied and stuff like that. So, but we just have cysts everywhere. They just generate wherever they feel like it, based on whatever exposure or impact that we have. Some are damaging, like the cysts in my uterus were bleeders. And so they ended up having to, like, one cyst was the size of a cantaloupe. So they ended up having to do a C-section. They had to cut out my entire uterus because there were some of the cysts were actually in the lining of my uterus and like actually hooked into the uterus itself. So when they cut it out, apparently my uterus did not want to come out, even with the cesarean. It didn't want to come out. So they ended up having to tug on it. When they tugged on it, they ripped every nerve ending from my left thigh. And who knew that my my nerve endings were like connected to there. Yeah. So
are you currently service connected for these? Are you being seen through the VA? And if so, how's that process been for you?
So the knee portion was one of the very few things that got med boarded. So even though I told them about my MST during my med board, even though I had the allergies and asthma, they refused to kind of add these to the med board. I was one of the very first people to go through that new process for MEB, and it was horrid. I mean, just because they were still messing up and streamlining it, and the guinea pig thing, it sucked. And I also had a liaison who was not out for my best interest. She was, unfortunately, you still have some people that have a bias in there, and she was definitely one of them. She called me at home and was like screaming at me and cursing at me and stuff like that. And I think I was just like, wow, you were a cross on the chain. And it's like, do you think God would really like your potty mouth kind of thing? And it went downhill from there. But so she basically kind of went out of her way to screw me. My knee is so bad. I mean, I do get the gel injections every third visit. I have to get the cortisone. They did try to do a nerve block, but I am telling you, those things are freaking ow. Anybody that does a nerve block in your knee that can do that on a every 6 month or every year basis, more power to you, God bless, because I could not handle, and I've got a very high pain threshold. I get 30 some shots every 3 months, and I usually only have a little bit of Tourette syndrome when I'm going through it. But when they did that nerve blocker, oh my gosh, I wanted to punch that guy so bad. And I was crying, just tears streaming. It hurt so bad. But the knee is like the part of the problem.
Blocker worth it though? I mean, did you get?
No, I didn't even get any relief, because unfortunately, the day I got it done, I came home. The 2-year-old almost fell off the bed backwards, and so I had to lunge across the bed to go save him. I was able to save him, but at the cost of me not being able to move for a day and a half. Yeah, my knee was even worse than it, it was no, I will never get it done again, because it did nothing. They even have me do this thing like a taser for my migraines too, because of the pain. So every single day, twice a day, I basically have to actually taser, because it's a taser. Wow. And I have to taser my vagus nerve, which is like right next to your carotid. And you basically have to like gut yourself and push it in really hard. It has to push in so hard to where it like makes you look like you're having a heart attack, because like the corner of your mouth has to like bend downward, and you basically have to electrocute yourself twice a day to deal with the migraines and the pain and stuff like that. So, and the inflammation in my head. So, yeah, we have lots of medications, lots of, things that we have to do, hoops that we have to jump. I mean, I think I have so much medication that, and a lot of the things that they're saying is that my medications would go away if I just lost weight, right? I mean, that's their cure for everything is that you just need to stop being fat. I have been waiting for over 8 years to get a gastric bypass, and they literally will not even give me the time of day. 8 years I've been waiting to do a gastric bypass.
Why? Did they tell you? Is it because of your chronic illness, or?
Yeah, well, they said that like the high blood pressure, and I'm moving diabetic because I can't, like a combination of not being able to move, but chronic inflammation state. When your liver is stuck in chronic inflammation state, your body will not let you lose weight because it thinks that you're sick. I mean, you are, but it's retaining all of that weight in order to deal with the sickness that is coming, just like how cancer makes you lose weight and you're going to drastically lose weight. It wants you to hold on to that weight as long as you can. So it holds this plateau. So even like if I ate everything in a bag of chips, I would still be at this plateau. If I ate nothing, I would still be at this plateau, because I had, when my knee wasn't as bad as what it is right now, being degenerative, I worked in the Pentagon, and I also had a part-time job working as a security guard, and I would walk 2 to 5 miles every day. So just the parking lot, from the parking lot where my desk was in the Pentagon, 2 miles minimum. So if I had meetings around the Pentagon, it was a minimum 5-mile day. And then when I would do the security guard every weekend, because I worked 7 days a week, I was a roving one. So every hour I would have to get up and circuit the building and multiple floors and stuff like that. So it was guaranteed 2 miles for that, because I had a Fitbit. I was able to actually, but I don't know if you can see, this is my medicine cabinet.
That's unfortunately, so many of our veterans have that same medicine cabinet. And with all the therapies that you do, which one do you feel actually helps? Do you think that it improves your quality of life? I mean, you do these on the daily. Do you feel that it is helping you?
Well, the knee injections I have to do, or else I would not walk. Like even with the knee injections, the closer it comes to time, they physically cannot give me more gel. So I'm stuck to every 90 days. That's the soonest that they can actually give it. But usually at about 70 day, like 60 to 70 day, my knees will start giving out. My knees will lock up. I'll be laying down fast asleep. And all of a sudden I wake up with my knee just locked into position, screaming in pain and not being able, like trying to unlock it and stuff like that. But, for the, so one of the injuries is the fibromyalgia for the Gulf War illness. So I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia and TGN. So trigeminal nerve damage in the jaw. So the left side of my jaw is just crap. So I've had root canals where I didn't even need to have them because it was just the TGN instead of my toothache. So, I mean, it masks as that. I have PTSD-like symptoms. I mean, I have PTSD from my MST, but I have PTSD-like symptoms, the brain fog, all the other stuff from the inflammation. And like right here in between where my fingers are is inflamed. It actually is swollen. There are no therapies that they can give. Like for the fibromyalgia, they have tried every medication for fibromyalgia. I've been in the 1% for reactions for every single one of them. One of them gave me tongue ulcers, where it's basically like a blister on your tongue. It feels kind of like you bit your tongue really, really, really bad, but it's like these exploded pustules on your tongue, these ulcers that actually pop and leave open infected wounds on your tongue that can get infected, etc. So that was the reaction of one. The other reaction, which I think was like gambuterol or gambutin, it was a G1. I literally took it and was projectile vomiting the entire 12 hours that I had that in my system. And I told the doctors, don't you dare ever give me that crap ever again. So they added it to my allergy medicines. So it's for all of these different illnesses and injuries, they test this or they test that or they test this. I am an MSTer and basically it's sexual trauma, military sexual trauma. I got raped by my readiness NCO. He gave me, my rape is not the same as other rapes because I was given the date rape drug. He had 5 other people. There was even a cop who knew that my drink was spiked. And they let it happen. And then they also protected him, not me, when they found out that I didn't know that it had that a drug of choice in there. I did not do drugs. I did not do anything. I woke up in a pool of my own blood, from what he did. They left me passed out on a bathroom floor and he picked me up and did what he did. But they let him get away with it. And for mine, he also was the only one to do, he basically anal raped me too. That's where a lot of the blood came from that was left on the bed when I woke up. But he also gave me herpes. And even though the MST is service connected, the VA basically said that, quote unquote, I could have gotten the herpes from any number of sexual encounters. So therefore, none of the medication, none of the stuff that they do for that is even covered or service connected. Basically, they called me a slut and said, thank you, have a nice day. So even though I had medical proof that I had it within 30 days of the rape, I saw a doctor, I talked to my platoon leader and my platoon sergeant. All of them wrote buddy statements and stuff like that. They still said my herpes was from them. So if you know nothing about herpes, it's a disgustingly nasty, grotesque, purple, pussy, welted, and I was active for almost 3 years because of having the PTSD and this stress and anxiety. Just my general profession of what I do, work in PM in IT, especially for federal government, because I was in commute like 6 hours a day going to DC from where I lived. And it is kind of this bloody, nasty, oozy grossness. The medications there's only like one true medication that you can have. They had me on 8 times the daily dose of that. And because my liver and kidneys are damaged because of the anthrax shot, I literally started having almost renal failure. I actually went into kidney disease, with the yellow jaundice, with the liver spots, with all of this other stuff. So they literally cannot give me the medication for the herpes medicine anymore. So any friction, any interaction, anything, even taking care of myself or, self-love or whatever, I can't do that anymore, because any friction, any interaction will actually cause it to activate. And I literally am very limited in what medication I can use. And there's nothing that they can do for me. There's no cure for it. There's nothing. It's 100% right there. It feels like battery acids and fire ants are eating away at my hoo-ha on a continual basis. And he took away my ability to have a relationship, because everybody is like, oh, just find a herpes person and, go get a relationship with herpes. And I said, it's disgusting. I would never let that come in. I respect my temple a little bit too much to let a diseased, but do you understand, any interaction, any friction will actually cause mine. So why would you have a relationship when you can't have a relationship? And for mine, they did the swabs and everything like that. It came back negative on the swabs, but it came back positive on the blood. So with having dental work and, like bleeding gums every once in a while when you knock teeth or when you kiss really good, because, I miss that part. But when you do a little bit of really heavy kissing, you're going to get a little bit of blood swab, because gums bleed, teeth bleed, whatever. And I can't even do that. But I think the most impactful for me is the fact that, like, it can be transmitted in water. It can be like the skin cells do shed. So the thing that what I've had to do, I was a competition swimmer. Because my family uses my pool, my kids, I cannot even swim in the pool with them without, like chlorining it to death. So I can only be in the pool by myself. Like when I had to have physical therapy on my knee, I actually have to make special arrangements with the physical therapy to be able to do it myself prior to them cleaning it with more bleach. Because like the skin cells can shed, and you can actually like wet towels in the water. If that skin cell gets attached to anything, whether it be in the eye, in the nose, in the mouth, anywhere, that skin cell can actually give that person herpes. So to protect my kids, I'm actually having to sanitize myself away from my kids.
I was not aware about herpes being that easy to contract and share with others. It's when you have an outbreak, obviously. When we talk about cancer sores, herpes on the face being very contagious, but we don't ever really talk about the sexual transmitted diseases.
Well, it's not even sexual.
And why it's so important to protect from those. And I'm so sorry that even today, our Department of Defense and Military Service does not do enough about MST and sexual assault. And they are brushing it under the rug. They keep it under wraps, and they don't want anyone to talk about it. But the good thing is that we have these online programs, and women are getting out there, as vulnerable as it is. They're getting out there and they're placing their story out for others to listen to. And as much as the Department of Defense fights them on that, they're being heard and things are being changed in the system as a result. So
Well,
hopefully we won't
actually, believe it
continue
or
to see
not,
this as much in
believe
the
it or not,
future.
it's not getting changed for the service connection, because like, you're supposed to have an MST coordinator in every state. That was something I was not even aware of. So this MST coordinator, when you first file a claim, this MST coordinator from the VA is supposed to call you and actually help work with you and try and get a positive, tell you what it is that you need. They look at your claim, they say, oh, it's missing this, missing that. All I was missing from my claim was my LES to prove that I was on drill weekend that weekend. So I got denied for years and years and years because reservists actually being able to prove. So I ended up having to show them the LES where you are considered on active duty up until midnight. They tried to say because I got raped outside of the drill hall in front of everybody that, and before final formation, I got raped after final formation. They said it didn't count, but you're still on 24-hour until midnight if you are on that pay cycle. So a lot of the people are not aware of those regulations, and it's the same thing with the anthrax shot. Being sick, we also had condemned barracks. So I kind of was this hybrid weird situation where it could have been the condemned barracks with the broken asbestos tiles and the desert dust and everything that our unit put us in, or it could have been the anthrax shot that caused this. So the military, when they're doing these claims, just like with allergies and asthma and with everything, if there is not a definitive trigger that says, oh, this is exactly what happened, and this is exactly, like you had a spear go right through your knee right in front of everybody because you guys were dorking around with lightsabers or spears or whatever, and everybody and their brother saw it. That one's a good one that's going to get a service connected with no problem. But things like the injuries of the vaccine, it takes years to pinpoint it. And one of the issues that they have with the claim process is that in a lot of the times when you get off of deployment, you only have like 90 days in which to prove this illness happened while you were deployed. And a lot of the times you just can't do it, because especially with like the anthrax shot, it laid in wait. And a lot of the people, the reason why I actually got involved and invested was a lot of the people in my unit started dying from non-alcoholic cirrhosis.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and statistically speaking, from all of the different backgrounds and male and female and smoker or not smoker or drinker or not drinker, having statistically that many people actually suffering the same issue, how in the hell did we all get it? How in the hell are we all dying right around the same time? Now, granted, the ones that were going over were heavy drinkers and heavy smokers. So we were just like, okay, why are they going for non-alcoholic cirrhosis and not something else? And when I talked to Dr. Bach from Minnesota, that's when he told me, hey, go ahead and get the CRP blood test that actually identifies inflammation in your liver. And as soon as I got, to back up just a little bit, I had been anemic for like 10 years. My VA doctor did not give a crap, even though I was in single digits many of those times, to the point where needing a iron transfusion and needing all of this. She didn't care because she didn't want to do root cause to give me another claim in the process. She was one of those kind of doctors that literally will treat the symptoms, but she won't actually fix it or cure it because she doesn't want to have a claim statement kind of thing. So for 10 years, until she actually finally was leaving the VA, did she actually finally send me to an endocrinologist to get a iron. And as soon as I got her, all of the answers started coming up, because she was like, damn, your belly's hard. It's not supposed to be hard. Does it hurt? And, it's bloated. And she noticed, and she was just like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, no, but people think I am. And as soon as she started pressing on my stomach and, like when it started hurting, she did the tests that are needed to find out that I had those bleeder cysts. And, she did the effort within 6 months of her actually getting to first see me, had the surgery. I was no longer anemic at all. But unless you get a doctor that actually really, truly cares, you're never going to get over that finish line. You're never going to get to the real, like, what in the heck is going on? So they're dealing with all of these side effects and the medication, like the iron. So all they did was give me iron pills. So those horrible red iron pills that literally caused me to have constipation, that caused me to actually get put on Linzess because I already had IBS-C. So thank you for making me even more constipated. So that actually caused hemorrhoids. So now I'm on hemorrhoid treatment and Linzess to get the poopy to flow the right way and but they're like all these medications on top of medications on top of medications, and no one will just go in and find out what the hell. Like, I have to take vitamin D supplements because I have that adrenal gland cyst in my right kidney, and the adrenal gland cyst sucks down your vitamin D. So for the rest of my life, I will have to take vitamin D just because this little monster in my back is sucking it out of my body.
Oh, wow.
They're not willing to take the monster out of my body. I mean, now granted, I'm not looking forward to them cutting into my back, but I would like to limit all the medicine cabinet, whatever. And they're saying, oh, because you're fat, it's all that, it's all that, it's all that. I literally have been 8 years in move. I have been on every single medication, weight loss that there is, to include having to give myself shots in the stomach twice a week, which hurt, cause nerve issues, cause my colon or something to spasm. Right where I was giving the shot, if it went too deep, it would actually, like, the medicine would cause my organs inside to start spasming, which hurts.
Yeah.
Some
of those medications could even be causing you to gain weight or hold weight or not be able to lose weight. So that's unfortunate. With all the things that the VA has done and provided, have they ever offered for you to go through the Gulf War Registry exam or to be seen at the War-Related Injury Illness Support Center?
I actually requested it, but because I did not deploy, they denied me, even though I have 40% of the same illnesses as burn pit. And I even talked to Dr. Bach, and he said, go ahead and apply it. I even went through my PCP, and my PCP even wrote to the WRIISC, which is, the organization that actually does that evaluation. And I live in DC, so I'm local and I could even go home every night. They flat out refused because I did not deploy. And every single one, except for my allergies and asthma, every single one of my injuries, to include even the cysts in my uterus and the liver issues and the kidney issues and all that other stuff, they refused to service connect any of them. And as you well know, with any kind of service connection, if you are not service connected and you die, of something that's not service connected, they can actually tell your significant other or your family, basically F you, that we're not going to take care of you. We're not going to give you DIC or any of the other benefits because she died of, being fat. Not the fact that my liver was damaged because of the anthrax shot. But a little known fact also is when you get to 100% disability, they will take away your 100% disability if you try and file additional claims. They threaten you for everything. So even though they can't pay you any more money, which to me, it makes no sense. So if you find something else is a cause, like let's just take when they removed my uterus and they destroyed all the nerves in my thigh. That is a actual claim. They screwed up in surgery and hurt me. And now I have pins and needles in my thigh. So if somebody touches my thigh, it burns. So it's not a big debilitating one or whatever, but it is still a claim that I do have nerve damage and it is service connected. Not that I'll get any amount of money for it, not that I care, not that whatever, but later on in life, I don't know what this is going to cause, right? So I'd like to service connect it, because if it's something that's going to kill me, I definitely want to get it service connected. But even that, they will not let me do the claim to add this to my service connection, even though it's clearly, service connectable. So
I found that there's more than one risk center. There's one for the East Coast, there's one for the West Coast, and I think there's possibly a third. But I found when my primary care provider through Michigan referred me to the one on the East Coast, I was denied. They came back and said that all my conditions were caused by fibromyalgia, and that I didn't deploy, just like you stated. Yeah. But when I was referred to the East or the West Coast in Palo Alto, California, both times they took my claim, and now I am going to be seen in August through their week-long program online. So it's all about which risk center you're referred to. I don't know if your primary care provider could refer to the West side instead of the East side. I don't know if there's any way we could prove to your primary care provider, like give him the information that I was accepted, even though I didn't deploy. That is at least one other veteran that they are allowing, and there's several others. So there's got to be a way that we can prove to that side of the VA that you are accepted and you should be part of the War-Related Injury and Illness Support Center's research, and to find out what's going wrong with you, because they have the specialists in order to do so. Because they've been researching this for several decades. So hopefully we can get something for you and get this moving on. Well, so as we wrap up the end of this interview, I would like to ask, what would you tell others as a veteran or a service member becoming a veteran? What would you tell them to do before they get out, or do as a veteran to improve their quality of life?
So unfortunately for quality of life thing, it's very subjective based on whatever their disabilities are. But I think that the biggest thing, especially with like those of us with PTSD that are very like introverted and almost like agoraphobic, where we don't like going out, we don't like meeting people, or people are icky, that you are going to need that village. You don't want to burn the bridges. You don't want to not have the friends, because one of the things that I've noticed is that when my disability rears its ugly head, I have to do like what I said. I have to hire maids to clean. I have to hire handymans to help me out, even with the stupid little things, because, having little kids in the house, it's not like they can actually, do things for me or lift big things or, screw things into walls or whatever. Not that I would let them either, but I think it's keep the village. Go to some place where you have that support. Military is very transient and they can move. They're not scared of move or something, but go to a place where you will have that support. You will have people that will not stab you in the back, those people that will be there for you. Because one of the things that I found for me is it's very cyclic. It's, and you generally you can't abuse that, where when you are hurt or whatever, you continue being hurt. It's degenerative. I need somebody to help me with the house today, and 3 months down the road, I'm going to need somebody to help me with the house. There's going to be times where I have to blow all of my finances and savings for getting this house fixed up or doing this, that, and the other. And then I have to go and scrimp and save and do whatever, or do, part-time jobs or whatever to kind of help make ends meet. I used to do 1-800-SUICIDE. I was a program director for that. I have a lot of other things that I can recommend for that, and I've actually tried to see the secretary of the VA to go over all of the things that I have and the documents that I still have from that 1-800 suicide project that I worked on for First Lady Bush. They refused. So they're not really interested in fixing suicide, even though they say they are, because I have all the things that they need to do and they refuse to do all of them. But for, yeah.
They don't like to listen to us veterans or patients. They would
No, not at all. Not at all. We're batshit. Once we're labeled batshit crazy, we have no soapbox. We have no vocal cords whatsoever. We are the silent majority because they force us to be silent. So even if we have the cure for cancer, they still will not let us have a voice to tell people the cure for cancer. And for suicides, I do have that knowledge and skills and voice, and all of the documentation that I did for that project. I worked with American Society of Suicidologists, which is a thing. And we worked on, a lot of different things. And I've offered to help build that stuff out, but they just want it written out, handed off so that way they can claim it and not give you credit for squat. Yeah. The other thing that you said, as far as for the future type stuff, is that you have to have a goal. You have to have a driving force. And I think that for those people that don't have it or can't find it, see, I'm kind of fortunate / unfortunate. My family is my trigger, with the frustration and the anxiety and all this other stuff and having to have the job security and everything. But they are also the reason why I'm able to be as sane as I am, is because I have 3 special needs kids. So the 8-year-old, the 2-year-old, and my daughter, who's their mom. All of them cannot survive without me, my paycheck, whatever. So if I don't succeed, if I fail, all of them are going to crash with me. So you have to have a goal. You have to have a purpose, and it has to be a goal that prevents death, that prevents death in your head, prevents death in your heart, prevents you from giving up, because you don't have that option. There is no option out for me, Yeah. So without that, and for people that are married, that their spouse is kind of up and down, if they put it on the wrong person when the spouse cheats or does whatever and they break, there goes all their stability and all of their goal and their purpose in life. And a lot of people can't even point at their kids because they're disconnected from even their kids. If they don't have that soul connection with their kids, then they can't even use that. So they have to find another goal, another life purpose, another something. But it can't be something that is, degenerative, or that something that's short-lived. They have to find something that is solid enough to say, no, I can't die today because this puppy will starve, or nobody else can have this puppy, or they have to have something that is non-negotiable or non-changeable. And
that's so true. That's such great advice. Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing your story and for agreeing to bring awareness through doing this patient personal interview.
Oh, no problem. Got lots of stories. Ask away.
Had a great time learning more about you, and I think and I know that this interview will help so many others through what they're going through as well. Thank you so much, Megan. Any final words that you'd like to give before we end the interview?
I think that the biggest thing for those of us, the non-deployables, is sheer quantity. And it's one thing for them to think that, it's just like, oh, it's a couple, or it's a couple hundred or whatever. If it's 100,000 that have the same issue, that are non-deployed and they're damaged now because of whether it be the anthrax shot or the toxic exposure, or even the VA not providing that service connection for something that clearly is. I have a girlfriend, she's been fighting the VA for 38 years She had a home invasion in base housing on the Air Force Base. A coworker hit her in the head and almost raped her. And her disabilities are still not service connected 38 years later. That has got to change. The service connection for the people that had the bromide shot, you know, that lost babies because of this thing, or bromide pill, my bad, bromide pill, that lost babies or miscarriages because of that pill. They have an obligation to take care of them, but the military, Pentagon, is not releasing the documents to VA. So they're so disjointed, they're so disconnected. But that service connection does not matter whether or not there's money behind it, or a 0% rating or a 100% rating. That is the biggest thing for the military. And if you need to have 400% service connected disabilities, that is what you rate. If you are that broken, you know, like with your twitch, with your fibromyalgia, with all of these other things, if that equals 400% disabled, good for you that the VA will service connect the reality, that will service connect everything and not just cherry pick and choose what they're going to service connect and what they're not. You have a card but no care. So get to the root cause so you can fix it. Then you take away the percentages. That's fine. Fix us. Don't just let us fester and die.
We call that math that they do for our compensation and pension government logic. It's the only explanation.
Oh God, even math for Marines with crayons is better than that. I can't even understand VA math. It makes no sense.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Have a blessed day.